upcoming Netflix series, Dear White People, which of course touches on race relations at a fictional Ivy League school where privilege takes center stage, specifically white privilege, which, by the way, is a topic of a new report from Axios, which examines the meaning of white privilege. Did you know it's only been around since 1988? So the article features a survey where 46% of whites believe their race is beneficial for them, compared to 92% of blacks and 65% of Hispanics who believe white Americans benefit from their race. Well, joining me now, Clay Kane, the SiriusXM Urban View host and political commentator, and Danielle Moodie-Mills, a host of Woke AF on SiriusXM as well, and political columnist Zora magazine as well. Erica Pandey as well is joining me, the Axios reporter and writer of the article New Culture War, the meaning of white privilege. Let me start with you, Erica. What made you guys look into this? Why do you look into white privilege? Why does it matter?
Yeah, so the germ of this story came from, we last weekend wrote a piece about how the media struggles to write about race, and we got a slew of emails, and a lot of them were from lower income white readers who identified as such, and they said, I think the whole race thing in the media is overblown, because I've had no advantages, I've had, so many hardships in my life, I've bootstrapped my whole life. Why are people suddenly saying white privilege is a thing? My life has been anything but privileged. And for me, personally, as a person of color, in my conversation with other people of color, it's very simple. It's not about white doesn't equal privilege, it's just that there's a system of societal and social advantages that are afforded to you because you're white. And this is older than our nation's founding. So, we thought, let's write a piece that digs into this and tries to, without alienating anyone, explain what this really means and why it's dangerous for us to run away from it.
And surprisingly enough, it's only the term itself has become more popular recently, but it's only been around since 1988.
Yeah, so it was mentioned, white skin privilege or, something to that effect was mentioned, as early as W.E.B. Du Bois, but
hey,
white privilege
Hi, how are you?
White privilege in quotes was mentioned, for the first time by Peggy McIntosh in 1988 in a paper at Wellesley College, and I spoke to her on the phone. She's in her 80s now, and she's saying, I never intended for this to become a flashpoint or for it to be weaponized, but now it is because it's getting mixed up with class privilege. And this is purely about something like, when you go to the airport, are you afraid that you're going to be pulled aside? When you get pulled over by a cop, are you afraid for your life? When you go to the grocery store, you're being followed around because someone thinks you might steal something.
Okay, so Clay, I want to pull up the Pew Research study on all of this as well. They ask the question about race relations in the country. 56% of whites say it's generally bad compared to 71% of blacks. You hear from callers all across the country every given week on your show. Why do you think there's that divide in the focus on race there?
See, part of the issue when you talk about white privilege and people take it personal, I always say a hit dog will holler. So, but if you're taking it personal, it's not saying that white folks don't have any challenges. It's not saying that white folks don't have pain and sorrow and go through issues. The majority of people on welfare happen to be white, right? But it's this idea that there is a certain experience that you're not going to go through because you're white. Me as a man, there's a certain experience that I'm going to have as a man that Danielle's going to have differently as a woman. And you got to be able to own your privilege. And if you can't do that, looking at that survey, it's kind of scary because it just shows you how people can't even accept a reality that's based in facts, that's based in stats.
And one of those stats that I found striking from the article that was out there that Erica wrote was, while black Americans are 13% of the population, back in 2012, well, before Ferguson, mind you, we were about 36% of those killed by police officers. What do you make of that?
When you look at the numbers, like Clay is saying, the facts are laid out for you. By birth, right, your whiteness allows you so many different qualifications than being born black. Being born black means that you were born with a target on your back, right? Means that a broken taillight can turn into you being shot to death. Means that, when a police officer is asking you to get your license and registration from the glove compartment, that, oh, I feared for my life and there might have been a gun there, and you're killed, right? It means so much more than that. And so when we look at these numbers, it's hard for me to understand white folks who then say, oh, no, 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 but my life has been so difficult. Oh, no, 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 I'm not one of those people. And to Clay's point, it's not about individuality here. It's about the persistent presence of whiteness that we have allowed in this country to be currency. And that's really the problem here.
Race being currency. Let me switch topics slightly and leave it there on that one. Because another example, I guess, of race playing out in the news this week, Jay-Z partnering with the NFL. He was being slammed by some and praised by others. What do you guys make of this move? You had a lot of people who thought he was all in with Cap, but Cap's girlfriend, Colin Kaepernick's girlfriend, was saying it's a shady move.
Yeah, you know what really wears me out about this? For me, it's less about Jay-Z, believe it or not, and it's more about Roger Goodell and the NFL, and I'll tell you why. Whenever black issues come about, they always go to a celebrity. When there was the controversy in 2012, 2013 over homophobia in the NFL, and we had to change the culture in the NFL, they didn't reach out to Neil Patrick Harris. They didn't reach out to Rosie O'Donnell. They reached out to GLAAD, and GLAAD came down there and they had a conversation and changed policy. We have to change the culture. Roger Goodell in the NFL didn't think to reach out to Color of Change, reach out to the NAACP. When there's an issue in the Jewish community, you don't call Barbara Streisand, right? You reach out to the ADL. So it's that narrative that it really infantilizes black folks and says, oh, yeah, so we'll reach out to a celebrity. We'll have Kanye and Steve Harvey come talk at Trump Tower, as if they're the expert on blackness. They're comedians or entertainers. It really frustrates me.
It really is something that is dividing the black community, and many of those folks who were right there with Colin Kaepernick and with Jay-Z. He don't need the money.
He doesn't need the money.
So we don't know. Clay King, Danielle Moodie-Mills, and Erica Paddy, thank you guys. We're starting off a new week, but before